Well, in his farewell speech, Donald Trump said he was one of the few presidents not to get America embroiled in a war. Well, now the boys are back in town. Yes, Joe Biden has turned the war machine straight back on. As soon as that happened, you had denialism in the media, people claiming, oh my God, who would dare suggest that Joe Biden, the same guy who literally voted vehemently for the Iraq war, was in the Obama administration that tried to topple Assad for 3 years straight by arming jihadists in Syria. Yeah, that Joe Biden, that administration, it's the same people in Biden's administration. He basically has the same foreign policy team that Obama had. Yet now we see military interventionism in Syria, in Iraq, and the media's coming out and saying, oh, of course it's not military interventionism. Who would even dare suggest that? In fact, there's a headline here out of the Jerusalem Post. False claims in Syria. Biden will start war as US presence there rejected. It says, rumours that the US has sent a convoy of trucks to Syria spread online overnight. They did. It was tweeted and pushed by those who are critical of US foreign policy, and particularly some who have latched onto a narrative that former US President Donald Trump wanted to end foreign wars. Crazy idea. While President Joe Biden will start a new war, in quotation marks, they say neither is accurate. Now, there was a US military convoy that moved into Syria. They're claiming that's routine, but again, it's this idea that it's a crazy conspiracy theory to think that Joe Biden, of the same administration that dramatically escalated tensions in Syria, the same administration that invaded Libya, which created the power vacuum, which created ISIS, which created the international migrant crisis, that the guy behind that foreign policy, the same foreign policy team that was there back in the early 2010s, is there now. Oh, who would even think they'd follow the same foreign policy? Well, they are. And guess what? ISIS is back. Yes, after Donald Trump bombed ISIS to almost near obliteration for 4 years, they're back. The day after Biden's inauguration, double suicide bombing in Iraq, 32 people dead, more than 100 wounded. It's now being reported that this is going to be used as a justification to, guess what? Deepen US military involvement in the Middle East, because it worked so well before, right? You have Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor to President Biden, the apparent dove, according to the Jerusalem Post, who would never even consider military involvement. Not like he voted for the Iraq war, vehemently supported it. Remember, Jake Sullivan, who is now Biden's Secretary of State, or in fact his national security advisor, we'll get onto Secretary of State in a minute, said literally, told Hillary Clinton, quote, Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Of course, this was when they were arming al-Nusra, which was a branch of Al-Qaeda. Al-Nusra went on to merge with ISIS, pledged allegiance to ISIS in Syria. It was supported by weapons from the Obama administration, the Obama-Biden administration. You have Antony Blinken, next Secretary of State. He's about to be confirmed by the Senate. Again, vehement enthusiast for arming Syrian rebels. He said we didn't arm them enough. Vehement enthusiast for toppling Assad. He supported, Blinken that is, literally every single military intervention, both during the Obama years and before, including in Yemen, which is a complete, even the UN says it's the greatest humanitarian disaster ever. He wants more of that. He supported the invasion of Iraq, despite the fact that now he's, a Democrat in the Biden administration. You have his entire foreign policy team full of women whose bloodlust for war would put Genghis Khan to shame. The media comes out and says it's this great feminist revolution. Bombing brown women in the Middle East. Yay, feminism. So Biden in Syria is going to finish the Obama job of toppling Assad for Raytheon, for Boeing, for Lockheed Martin, the leaders of the new resistance. And it's already ramping up. It's already escalating a day after inauguration. Meanwhile, you have the events in Russia, of course, over the past few days. Alexei Navalny, this anti-Putin critic, who was apparently poisoned by the Russian government. They've imprisoned him on and off. They've threatened him with prison. Massive protests throughout major Russian cities over the weekend, of course, What does the Biden administration do? Instead of trying to tamp it down or ignoring it, they come out and literally say the protesters are their allies and partners. So they're already ramping up that destabilization in Russia as they move to further militarize US involvement in Syria. Of course, Putin has been allied with Assad in the region. Russia has an agreement with Germany to build the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. US government doesn't like that because it would cost Ukraine $2 billion. Of course, again, it was an Obama administration directed coup in 2014 that happened in Ukraine. Joe Biden's son landed that high-paying job with Burisma, the Ukrainian natural gas company. So they're very keen to dismantle, to derail the agenda for the pipeline from Russia to Germany and replace it with a pipeline serving that gas to Europe through Syria. So again, we're seeing escalations in Syria, we're seeing escalations in Russia. Biden administration outright saying they are allies with the demonstrators in Russia. But of course, most people don't get what's happening because they don't have a memory longer than a frigging fish. An example of that is this Twitter thread, which I'm going to flash up right now. So somebody tweeted in response to this: Biden's foreign policy is 100% the best thing about him, and this administration is having a great start. So somebody responded to that by saying, escalation and boots on the ground interventionism is the best thing about Biden, the absolute state of so-called liberal Tories, because this was a Conservative Party supporter tweeting this in the UK. Then the idiot responds to it, these two neocons respond to it by saying, A, he hasn't escalated troop numbers, and B, intervention to defeat ISIS is good actually. And then another neocon moron called Ben Harris responded, but defeating ISIS isn't good because forever war. Again, is your memory longer than a fish? Do you know any recent history? The Obama-Biden administration didn't try to defeat ISIS. They were arming ISIS via al-Nusra, which is an al-Qaeda offshoot. Al-Nusra pledged allegiance to and merged with ISIS. The weapons were flowing from the Obama-Biden administration. They weren't trying to defeat ISIS, they helped ISIS. What do you think created the power vacuum for the creation of ISIS, for the bolstering of ISIS in the first place? It was the Obama-Biden administration's invasion of Libya. Again, involving Hillary Clinton, the same people advising Hillary Clinton, now in the Biden administration. People like Sullivan. We came, we saw, he died. Ha ha ha! Yeah, worked out great, didn't it? International migrant crisis, which directly led to the Islamic terror attacks throughout Europe. Paris massacre. The terrorists came via the refugee wave. Manchester arena bombing. The terrorist was literally a refugee rescued from Libya by the UK Royal Navy. He wouldn't have been a refugee if we hadn't have invaded it in the first place. The beheadings in France, carried out by refugees who came from the Middle East. Brussels bombing, carried out by refugees who came as a result of the international migrant crisis, created by the Obama-Biden administration's foreign policy in Libya and Syria. So no, they weren't trying to kill ISIS. They helped ISIS. They caused the migrant crisis, which caused the terror attacks in Europe. Remember Gaddafi's warning? 500,000 migrants would come across the Mediterranean. He said there'd be tons of Islamic terror attacks. It's exactly what happened after he was overthrown. Trump was bombing ISIS for the past 4 years. That's why the terror attacks declined. The world was a safer place. As he famously said, I'm just trying to stop the world from killing itself. Obama dropped leaflets on them. They literally dropped leaflets in Syria, where all these jihadist groups, which later merged with ISIS, were gathered, and said, watch out, we're about to bomb this area, you better get out of the way. Gave them an hour to flee the area. They weren't trying to fight ISIS. Again, these people don't know their recent history. They're not intervening to defeat ISIS, they're intervening to help ISIS. And now ISIS is back the day after Biden's inauguration. The war machine has been turned back on, both abroad and at home. Now you have up to 5,000 National Guard troops who are going to remain in DC, occupying DC until at least March. The war machine has been turned back on, both at home and abroad. The boys are back in town.